Hey everybody, this is Jenny Burke, and I'm looking forward to walking you through the Body Image Blueprint. This is a presentation on techniques for improving your body image and for creating more self-love in your life. And I just want to start with a quote, which I think is really important. It's by Dr. Bruce Lipton. The moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite the chemistry of your brain, of your body. And I think that is so true because body image is all about perception. It's about your own perception versus the story of what you think others perceive about you. And if we are to define what body image is, it's really just how we imagine our bodies. How do we imagine other people see our bodies? How we imagine what we look like in front of a mirror. It's a subjective creation that can create concrete perceptions. And these concrete conclusions of ourselves can also run our lives in a detrimental way and an unsupportive way because we believe what we imagine, and that's irrespective of someone else's truth or imagination. So a lot of times we can't believe our own beauty unless it is validated by somebody else. And so what we're going to be talking about today is to how to validate your own beauty, inner beauty, outer beauty, without any external forces, but just from within. So, it begs the question, why are we hating our bodies so much? And it's really not even just bodies. It's our faces, it's our hair, it's our skin, it's everything, really. There are people trying to change the way that they look all the time, thinking that they're too heavy, that they're too thin. They hate our bodies. We get plastic surgery, we cut our hair, we color our hair, we get breast augmentations, all kinds of things just to change the appearance of our body to fit into some social construct of what beauty is. And I think what you're going to see in this video is that there are many, many different body ideals throughout history. There is no one sense of what beauty is. It is different for every single person and throughout history and in other cultures. So take a minute to watch this video. I thought it was really, really great. If I can get it to work. So personally, I would have liked to lived in the Italian Renaissance era, but that's just me. You can see that there are so many different body types, and there's no one ideal of what beauty is. So take a minute and answer this question in the comment section on the lecture page on Teachable. tell me, what were your feelings of your own body image growing up? Where did those images come from? What were some examples of when you realized your image in your own eyes and in the eyes of others? So what was the first time you recognized you had an opinion about your body? So take a minute to stop the video, stop this lecture, and just answer that question in the comment section below, and perhaps even respond to some other people's comments. This is a conversation I want to have. This is a conversation I think is important, to realize that every single person grows up having an opinion at some point about their body. And it's important to understand where those images and stories come from, and how old you were, and sort of what those feelings have been in your trajectory. So why is this all important? Well, first of all, negative self-talk leads to constant low-level stress response in the body. And it also creates stress hormones such as cortisol, increased insulin, adrenaline, which can cause actually widespread inflammation in the body, especially if those stress hormones are not being excreted because we're constantly attacking our own bodies and our own selves. So inflammation like this can lead to decreased ability to lose weight, to digest efficiently, to assimilate nutrients. And so the bottom line is that focusing on loving your body into health and weight loss, rather than hating it or bullying it into a place where you want it to be, has got to be paramount. Because studies have shown over and over that when you are talking negatively about yourself, your body responds with a stress response. It's almost like an autoimmune response, because the body keeps the score. So how does one do this, you might be asking? Well, I created a little graphic here just for 5 different steps that you can take to get on a path of self-love and self-acceptance. And the first one is to meditate. We're going to go through all of these one by one, and first we're going to talk about meditation. So this also incorporates mindfulness. And so I want to talk about how mindfulness can actually help with body image. For number one, it creates a space to allow for in-the-moment thinking versus what was in the past and what will be. So to make a distinction around that, when we are living in the moment, we can accept what is. But when we're living in the past, potentially thinking about how we used to look, or what we used to weigh, or the clothes we used to fit in, or fantasizing and dreaming about when things will be great, when you will fit into those jeans again, when you lose 10 pounds, whatever it is, it doesn't allow you to be squarely in the present right now. And the truth is that the present is all we really have. So being mindful can create a space for you to allow to be in the moment. And when you accept and acknowledge what is, your parasympathetic nervous system is activated. This is the relaxation response. And it can create a sense of calm and relaxation. And that's very, very important, because when you're not in a relaxation response, your body, again, responses as a fight or flight response. Even if it's not a full-on fight or flight, that is how your body perceives it. So natural dopamine receptors can actually be regenerated through ongoing meditation and create innate happiness that can be felt, reducing self-doubt, negative self-talk, anxiety, and compulsiveness. So natural dopamine receptors is as opposed to false dopamine that can be turned on just through processed foods and sugar and whatnot. And so actually working on mindfulness and loving what is, being in the moment, can create a sense of relaxation and overall more positive natural dopamine response. Focusing on nourishing your body with healthy foods can take the emphasis off of weight or your dress size and more on how those foods make your body feel, how you respond to those foods, noticing whether they make you feel energetic and alive or lethargic and sick. So you're going to want to think about, what are the foods that make you feel amazing? It's hard to do that when we're constantly distracted. We're eating when we're driving. We're eating when we're watching TV. We are eating and standing up and multitasking. And it's very, very hard to really tune in and listen to your body and understand which foods make you feel great when you're not even aware of eating in the first place. So mindful and slow eating allows you to appreciate what you're eating, where the food came from, and how to better know when you are full and what exactly your body needs. So essentially, it's a better relationship with yourself. Mindful eating creates a space between you and a potential binge. This also sometimes occurs out of punishing exercise and dieting regimes that have not worked to get your body to do what you want it to do long term. Yes, you can bully your way into a size 2 if you want, but very often it's short-lived, and the level of heroic effort that is needed to sustain that is often unattainable and creates a feedback loop where we are again in stress and anxiety and sadness that we haven't been able to create this body ideal. So again, mindful eating creates a space between you and the negative behavior, including a binge. So when you are in the moment and you're able to slow down and you're able to create a space versus just having a negative emotion and grabbing for something like cake or cookies or Doritos or what have you, you are allowing your prefrontal cortex to activate, and that's your executive functioning, to give your body a chance to get out of that immediate response of grab, 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 and have your body and your brain get a chance to catch up and say, whoa, is this really what I want to do? Step 3 is positive mantras and gratefulness. Research has shown that devoting time to gratefulness releases more oxytocin and the happiness hormones, which are key for feeling self-actualized and embodied. I went to a yoga retreat this past weekend called Kripalu, and at the yoga retreat there was a gratefulness journaling lecture, and this was such a remarkable group of people all talking about all the things that they're grateful for and being able to put that on paper every day, and how by doing so actually made them happier day to day. I'm wondering if you've ever found yourself saying mean things about your body to yourself, like, oh, my thighs look so gross, or look at the blubber on my tummy. Can you imagine saying those things to somebody else? Why would you say them to yourself? Think about how this could hurt you. And I'll give you an example. I was at a gym class, this was several years ago, and I wanted to go in and just notice how many times that I looked in the mirror and said something negative, like, I'm not strong enough, I can't compete with the other people in this class, I don't look good in this spandex. All right, so I wasn't going to do anything with that information. I just wanted to notice how many times in that 1 hour class that I had said this. And if you can imagine, I had said something negative about myself 18 times in 1 hour. And I was at the gym trying to empower myself and get strong and be fit. And yet I still had this sense of negative self-talk. And can you imagine having a conversation with somebody, sitting with a friend at dinner, and insulting them 18 times in an hour? They would probably walk out of the restaurant or never talk to you again. But yet this is what we do to ourselves time and time again. So positive mantras actually help to create new neurochemical patterns to take shape in the brain and for new synapses to flow. So thinking and saying positive things to yourself, even if you don't believe it right away, helps to improve your self-image over time. So I want to give you a couple of examples of what these positive mantras could sound like. So one thing you could say, and again, you don't have to say this out loud or at the breakfast table, but really just in your head, you could say, I choose to eat healthy, nourishing foods that make my body feel good. You could say something like, I'm grateful for my body because it was able to grow a child, or because I was able to run a 5K, or I'm grateful for my body because of whatever you could, comes up for you that is personal to you. You could say something like, I exercise to make me healthier, not to make me skinnier. I am much more than a number on a scale. My body is powerful because fill in the blank. And again, saying these types of things to yourself over and over, again, changes certain synapses in your brain so that your body and brain start to act cohesively to believe this. And this is what we should be doing to turn around our own body image and self-image. Step 4, what I want to talk about is this concept of joyful movement. So this is a selfie of me a couple years ago when I used to hate exercise and only did it because I felt like I had to, and felt that if I didn't do it every single day for an hour and a half, that I would gain weight and I would be overweight. And I was operating out of a place of fear instead of joy and curiosity. And wouldn't it be amazing if you actually felt like this when you exercised? Or like this, with a sense of empowerment, with a sense of freedom, with a sense of joy. This is what exercise can do for you. In addition to the myriad ways that we know exercise benefits us on a physiological level, it is also known to support our mental and emotional well-being as well. And this can really only happen if you are choosing to do it because you love your body, not because you hate your body. And so in doing so, it may be worth thinking about what are you doing in terms of exercise. What I used to do was an hour and a half every day on the elliptical, and I hated every minute of it. I would have literally my phone in front of me, watching a TV show and listening to music at the same time, just so that I could zone out and numb out and not feel how uncomfortable this was. It wasn't until I found yoga, hot yoga, kettlebells, strength training, body weight movements, that I realized that exercise can actually be fun, it can be empowering, it can make me feel strong, I could look forward to it. And I wasn't doing it because I had cake last night, but I was doing it because it felt good and I looked forward to doing it. And guess what? This is something that all of us can experience. So what are some ways that you love to move and be active? I think the list here is endless, but just for some ideas, dancing. How does your body respond when you're dancing? Yoga, hiking and being in nature, biking, Zumba, bowling, really anything that is moving your body in a happy and joyful way. So in the comment section, why don't you just put this lecture on pause for a minute and just note what are some ways that make you excited to move your body. And then turn me back on. Step 5 is something called mirror work. And this is a little bit more of an advanced technique. It's not something that everybody is comfortable with. And I recognize that, but I'm putting it out there anyway, because I do think that there is some benefit to this if you're willing to put the work in and to tolerate some feelings of discomfort. So what it is basically standing in front of a mirror once a week with as little clothes on as you feel comfortable. And if you actually could do this with no clothes on, that would be better. And you're just simply going to observe your body for 5 minutes without any thought bubbles, without any judgment. I mean, there will be thought bubbles, but just simply notice what those are. Notice your reactions, your thoughts, and your feelings. But again, without judgment. Just notice the thoughts, even if they're negative. And then over the course of a few weeks, you can work up to a 20-minute bout, of just witnessing and observing your physical form and eventually finding something about each body part to affirm and honor. So again, I don't expect everyone to do this step, but I would love it if people felt that they could try it. I'm going to discuss some other things that could potentially help self-image, body image, and are some examples of acts of self-love. So number 1 is eating nourishing food, receiving or giving loving touch, hugs, rubbing someone's shoulder, what have you. Body care, so massage, stretching, manicures, pedicures, Reiki, those kinds of things. Getting a nice haircut. Opening yourself up to love or romance or dating or even an intimate connection with one's own partner. Being open to dating maybe after a long period of not dating. could be an act of courage and also an act of self-love. Embracing your sexuality and sensuality, being in nature. For many, many people, just simply being in a forest or being outside can really change, your whole outlook on life. Music, travel, art, culture, reading, film, those are important things to explore as part of understanding who you are as a creative person and as a cultural person. Trying new things, new hobbies that give you joy. When I was going through, I guess what I'll call my midlife crisis, I took an improv class, and it was one of the most exhilarating and scary things I'd ever done. I had to perform in front of about 100 people, but this was something that made me feel really, really good about myself because I was able to take a chance, take on a challenge that was very, very uncomfortable for me. And by doing so, I was able to have more of an appreciation for my ability to step out of my comfort zone and stand out on that skinny branch and take chances. And that builds strength in many, many ways. Being creative, exploring your edges, overcoming a challenge. In addition to all of that, it's important to hang out with people who are body positive and non-judgmental. And yes, this can be hard depending on who your friends are, but really focusing and seeking out the people who are as body positive and non-judgmental as possible. Also, to try to avoid magazines that glamorize skinny celebrities and models, or who glamorize, a certain way of looking and is not body positive. Realizing that this is a collective cultural issue and you do not have to get embroiled in it, and that you are not alone. This is something that we as a culture experience together. Allow yourself to be playful in your life and to receive pleasure with your food choices. I can't tell you how important it is to just simply throw a frisbee around or play hacky sack or just be playful. Have a fun wrestling game with your partner or with a friend. Just something very light and playful. And then, of course, receiving pleasure, allowing yourself to receive pleasure with your food choices. That it is okay to be happy when you eat. People have a very big sense of shame with food, particularly if it's food that they consider for quote-unquote forbidden. But receiving pleasure with food is one of the most fundamental parts of eating. In fact, there are studies that show that when we allow ourselves to get into the cephalic phase of digestion, which is even before you take a bite of food, it's the sight of food, it's smelling the aroma of food, it's getting yourself in a situation where you're getting excited to eat, that people actually digest their food and assimilate the nutrients better than when they're not inviting pleasure in. And finally, writing a pleasure inventory. So writing down everything in your life, big or small, that gives you joy, happiness, fulfillment, and satisfaction. And keep an ongoing list that you can refer back to time and again, especially when you feel that you want to numb out or use food as a comfort measure for yourself, or when food acts as a surrogate for something else that you're really needing that isn't food. I want to say a quick word about embodiment. Even though many of us dislike our bodies, we aren't really experiencing that. We're checking out of our bodies because we're very uncomfortable in our skin. So as part of that, we eat mindlessly, we live chaotically in a world with so many distractions, and we've actually become alienated from our own skin, from our own bodies, and we've lost touch with our needs and what our body's telling us. Our bodies are talking to us all the time, and we just need to stop and listen to what it's saying. So when we don't listen, we can't really understand how to do self-care, to how to self-love, to create self-care measures. And we look for quick fixes to remedy emotional and physical pain rather than really digging into it and understanding and feeling those feelings. So sample being squarely embodied in the moment in your skin and just listen to what it's saying, good or bad. Now this concept can be articulated best by a visual, and this is something that I call surfing the urge. And this relates to food cravings, it can relate to addictions, it can relate to other things that are really uncomfortable in your life. And it's basically, if you're imagining a wave, and this is, I guess I can relate it best if anybody's had a child and has been in labor and had contractions. You know that at the beginning of the contraction, it's not that painful. As it goes up the wave, it becomes more and more uncomfortable. Finally, at the crux of it, it's extremely uncomfortable. And then it subsides, and you get a reprieve from that pain. So the same is true with food urges. And very often we'll give into those food urges because we feel very, very uncomfortable, rather than riding the wave and seeing what potentially could be on the other side. Maybe there's a sense of freedom. Maybe there's a sense of peace. So if you see this visual, you can see how some people can get stuck at various levels. Some people go right with the yellow and they go straight for the Oreos. Other people ride the wave and kind of get stuck in the orange. Some people make it all the way to the red and still feel like they need to, submit to their cravings or their urges or to the binge. But with enough practice, you may be able to get up and over the very, very most difficult part of this and see what's on the other side. And I definitely encourage each of you to try this as an experiment, especially if you're somebody who eats emotionally or binge eats, and that's separate and apart from a physical hunger and a need to fuel your body. So ask yourself this: does obsessing about having a perfect or ideal body and weight help you to achieve any goals that you have in life? Does it allow you to give your gifts to the world, to help the world in any way? Does it make you happier? Does it fulfill your potential? Or does it just seep energy into unwanted places, making you exhausted for what really matters? I really want you all to think about that, because we have spent way too much time hating on our bodies, worrying about achieving the perfect or ideal body and weight. And it's all that energy that we can be using towards all of these other things in our lives. So I have a little rule in my Facebook group called Wellness Warriors, and if you haven't joined it yet, definitely get on there, Wellness Warriors on Facebook. And my rule is there's no negative self-talk, negative body image, or excuses allowed here. And I also warn people that reflections in the mirror may be distorted by socially constructed ideas of beauty. But finally, what I want to impart to you is just bloom where you are planted. A flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms. And that really is the body image blueprint. So thank you so much for your time. I have a little bit of homework for you. In the next 24 hours, do one or more of the following. Enjoy a yoga or other gentle movement class. Download a meditation app like Headspace or Calm.com, that's CALM.com. Enjoy a healthy, delicious meal and eat it slowly, savoring every bite. Be playful with your kids, with your spouse, or with your friends. Love your body and appreciate what it can actually do for you. Just some quick resources before we end the lecture. MEDA, if you're in the Boston area, is a great resource for disordered eating, body image issues, and the like. There's also an organization called Walden Behavioral. Of course, I'm always a resource, JennyEdenCoaching.com. Many of the concepts that I talked about today were inspired by the Institute for the Psychology of Eating and Mark David, so you can check out their website as well. And then, of course, if there are deeper issues that need to be explored, you can also, of course, look into psychotherapists as well. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful, useful, valuable, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture. Thanks so much, everyone.